Let's just take it in, Carter. Let's take in the music.
Let's go.
Okay, I had to listen to make sure.
Get the crowd. The stadium pulse is at.
Let's get this out of here. How the heck do I get this out of here? We're getting this out of here. There we go. A round of applause. Round of applause. Week 1, baby. It's what we've been waiting for all year. College football fans everywhere, rejoice. We had some good games. We had some games. We had some teams that I personally thought played extremely poorly, including my Michigan Wolverines. Carter, tell me about the day. What was the setup today? What was getting on the screens? No Michigan?
Michigan made it. We ended up going quad box on one of the screens. Once the games got a little tight, I'm watching Oregon. I got to watch the UCLA game because I had Hawaii with the points. So Michigan made it on the quad box eventually. We had 3 screens, then a quad box on one of them. It was fantastic. Last night, didn't get home till 3 a.m. Had to wake up on West Coast time for 10 a.m. kickoffs. It was brutal. I wake up at 9 a.m. and I'm all of a sudden, I'm talking myself into Clemson, Dylan. I talked myself into Clemson.
What were you doing until 3 a.m. last night?
As Drake once said, Lord knows.
Fair enough. That's like, I will be up. I usually get up 6, 7 a.m. Had a late night last night, watched Modern Family a little too long. Woke up at like 8, and I'm texting the group chat and like, whatever, bets, what food I'm making. And nobody's answering. I'm like, what the heck? These people over in Mountain Time, they're still asleep. We have a whole day ahead of us here.
Yeah, well, let's just say maybe potential cards were involved. We'll leave it there.
I'll have to hear about that off air.
Yeah.
Week 1 started Thursday. We can touch on a couple of the big games. Obviously, we have to talk about Colorado. A couple interesting games yesterday. Western Michigan kind of impressed against Wisconsin. And then we had the big dogs today. We had Clemson versus Georgia. We had Texas A&M, Notre Dame. We got to touch on Ohio. I have to touch on Ohio State. I have to touch on Michigan. Tons here to talk about. To recap, 30 minutes, an hour. First time doing it. We'll just, we'll spitball and we'll see where the wind blows us. Let's start Colorado, North Dakota State. Coming into this game, a lot of talk, North Dakota State, they're an FCS school, but they're a top-tier talent in the FCS. Is Colorado going to be able to hang on? Colorado was what? 9.5, 10-point favorites, I think it was. What were your takeaways from the Colorado game?
They're fun. They're talented.
They're fun, yeah.
I think they got a little bit better, but do we know? I don't know. Deion's coaching decisions made 0 sense in that game. I don't know what he was doing at the end of that game, but I don't know. I think they're a little more fun. I'm very excited for Colorado, Nebraska next week. The fact that both those teams got out alive this weekend, they're 1-0. We can have a big-time game next week at 7:30 p.m. It's a night game, Nebraska. I can't wait for that game. I don't have very many takeaways other than, look, I think Shedeur Sanders has proved himself as, like we all knew, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. That interception was that was like a Looney Tunes interception right there against North Dakota State. He threw for over 400 yards. My problem with him is sometimes I think he holds the ball a little too long. I think he needs to throw it away more. But besides that, he made some unbelievable throws. I think they got a little bit better in the trenches, but it's hard to tell. In
the trenches, offensively, defensively? Which one? Or both?
I think a little bit of both. But I don't think it's going to matter when they play the big guys. Like, I think they can sneak into a bowl spot. Like, I know their win total, I believe, was 4.5 or 5.5. I think they could sneak into a bowl spot, but we'll see once they start playing real Power 4 teams. Because, they struggled against an FCS team at home, so...
Carter, we got to talk. We got to talk about this bowl talk because all that I saw was these North Dakota guys just looked like they were greased up with oil as they were running. These guys cannot tackle.
That's to that point where that one viral clip of Shedeur saying, I know we're everybody's Super Bowl. Well, okay, you have a massive target on your back. You got to be ready for it. North Dakota State came out firing. Every team is going to come out with an extra 10%, 20% effort against Colorado because they know the whole country is going to be watching. They know it's a slightly not great opponent where they can look good. It's not like you're playing Georgia because everyone's going to be watching Georgia games. but you're also like, this team's freaking good. It's going to be tough for us just to win this game. Against Colorado, you're thinking, I think we're going to win this game. You're not thinking that against Georgia.
That's fair. You're going to get the national, like you're going to get the eyes on you, and it's a winnable game. I get what you're saying. Teams are going to get up for that. It was apparent to me that there were some fundamental issues on defense, and I think I'll agree with you 100%. And we did our Big 12 preview, and I wanted to be high on Colorado. I'm not a Deion hater. I'm not a Sanders hater. I don't think that Deion has any ties to Colorado. I think he'll leave once his kids are gone. But we saw a lack of tackling, a lack of discipline. Not awful on penalty yards, surprisingly. I just checked that. 30 penalty yards, I think maybe 5 penalties. But this team, like, the tackling is a real issue. The defense is a real issue. The offense is going to be there. And I even brought it up, like, this offensive line last year even didn't grade out that poorly. And this year, just from the one game we've seen, they haven't looked that bad. So that's a good sign for Colorado. Exciting team, but I don't know. Bowling, I don't see it because I think there are some serious issues. Now, it's I don't know. I don't see it. I don't know if Deion's even that good of a coach. Is that crazy to say? Like, he can be a great recruiter, but like you said, some of those coaching decisions.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a great coach or not. I really don't. But I'll tell you what, his son's freaking talented, and his son can cover up a lot of holes if he is a bad coach, because Shadur is freaking good, man. There's no two ways about it. You can hate him, you can love him. Either way, he's a good quarterback. He's going to be a top 5 pick in next year's draft. I just really want to see how this team responds when they go against a team that is very physical, that is a true Power 4 team like Nebraska. I watched Nebraska UTEP today. They are much more physically imposing than Colorado. They're going to dominate in the trenches. It's how much can Shadur overcome that next week. I'm very, very, very curious to see that. And to answer your question, I don't know if he's a good coach. I think next week will be a telltale sign. Obviously, a one-game sample size doesn't help. It isn't a great way to, decide if he's a good coach or not. But, yeah, I don't know. I would lean towards maybe not great, but the recruiting stuff, that's all that matters. That's what all that matters. 90% of college football is recruiting.
So we definitely did not say we were going to talk about this game, but you brought it up, and this is a game I did not get to watch. And I want to put this disclaimer out there. As a show, Karter Cast, we have 4 football guys. We have 4 guys on the show. It's us 2 right now. We cannot watch every game. So if I'm about to say this.
I just about did, Dylan.
I don't want to get any backlash from this, but I didn't get to watch the Nebraska game. So well, I need you to fill me in on the Raiola hype. I saw he had a great throw. People were making jokes about the Mahomes. Like, he really looks like Mahomes on this play. What do we have here?
I'll be honest. Raiola's good. He's got it. Whatever it is, you see these quarterbacks, you watch. I'm not saying he's as good as these, but they have this it factor about him. When you watch a guy like Jackson Dart, Cam Ward, they have that it factor in them. Even it can go as low as some of these lower guys. Look, I think Virginia's Anthony Calandria's got it. He's got it. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback, but he's got that moxie, that swagger, whatever it may be. He's got it. Dylan Raiola's got that. His passes were beautiful. Nebraska's in a really good spot, Dylan. They're not going to screw around. When everybody was talking about Nebraska potentially going 6-0 with an easy schedule to start the season, that's not crazy. That's really not crazy. They looked really good today. UTEP stinks. Don't get that twisted.
Yeah.
They're basically an FCS team, so we're not going to overreact too much. But I really liked what I saw from Raiola today.
So Matt Rule, Coach of the Year, is what I'm hearing.
If they go 10-2, 11-1 somehow and just pull off a miracle, then absolutely he deserves it. He's a great college coach. He was never going to make it in the NFL.
That it's kind of weird to me to talk about a Nebraska team like they're going to have 10 wins. Since I've followed college football, that's never been the case. I know that they were a powerhouse back in the 90s or whatever. We talked about, or you brought up the fact that they played UTEP, not a great team. We get a lot of that week 1.
Oh my goodness.
We get so many good teams playing bad teams. What are we to believe? Are the good teams not that good? Are the bad teams better than we think?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, because we see these games where teams are struggling with even FCS opponents like Oregon, Idaho. How much stock do we put into oh man, did they just skip ahead and they're looking ahead to the following week's game? They didn't really care about this week? Or is it, oh snap, these are huge red flags for this program? Obviously, it's probably somewhere in between, but holy crap, man, there's a lot of teams. I mean, you could go back to Thursday. NC State was in a tight one with Western Carolina. You got Idaho almost pulled it out against Oregon. If they don't drop passes at the end, we're sitting here talking about, holy crap, Idaho just had the greatest upset in college football history as a 48-point underdog. So, I don't know. I don't know, Dylan. I want to overreact, but I'm really trying to be good this year.
And I give credence to, you have the whole look ahead thing, you have the sleeping through a game thing, and I get that. You can make that excuse if you want. You also have the aspect of it is a lot of these people's first games in a new system with new players, the transfer portal, coaching hires, whatever, and you give people a break because of that. But you hit on Oregon. Ohio State was another team. It was 17-3 at halftime against Akron. Akron is a bottom dweller in the MAC. They're not just a MAC team, and because I can give MAC teams credit. Like, they cause chaos. It's crazy. Bottom dweller in the MAC. Michigan against Fresno State. The offense looked awful, atrocious. There were teams today that looked worrisome. I want to start with Ohio State. Every ounce of being in me wants to start with Ohio State because I watched that game. I went to my in-laws' house. They invited us over to watch the Ohio State game. All Ohio State fans. And I told them, I said, looking at this game, here's what I want to see. Can Will Howard throw the deep ball? And is this defense as good as everybody says it is? I was more interested in hearing about or seeing Will Howard. The defense I kind of already knew was going to be pretty good. Also, offensive line. I wanted to see the offensive line. Will Howard was missing throws. Who's the freshman? Jeremiah Smith? Karter. I heard stuff about this guy all year. He was dropping passes right at his numbers. I mean, wide open, in the flat, right here, dropping passes. This was guys, All-American, future Heisman, All-Star, first-rounder, number 1 draft pick, Jeremiah Smith, who hadn't played a snap of college football. When he dropped that first pass, I don't think you could understand how happy I was because that's all. Now he ended up with 2 touchdowns, 6 receptions for like 97 yards, whatever, right? Akron. I got so excited in that moment. And you had the late hit on the quarterback, dirty Columbus football. I think I even sent it in the group chat. And then they pull away. They score 2 defensive touchdowns, and Ohio State becomes, they blow them out by 40 some or whatever. I think Akron still covered. Were you able to watch any of the Ohio State game? And if you were, what are your thoughts?
That was a game where I'm not overreacting to whatsoever. I think that
really
was
not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. That first half was bad.
Yeah, but guess what wasn't bad? The second half, Dylan.
But you have 2 defensive touchdowns in there padding that score.
Okay, that means their defense is awesome. Their defense is awesome.
I mean, they have a good. Yeah, it's fine.
Will Howard, we mentioned it. It's a transfer coming in, new system, take time to gel. They're also not going to show off all their plays against Akron. They're going to run a very vanilla conservative playbook against Akron. They're not going to show it off until conference play, most likely.
But their conservative playbook is going to be their playbook for the year. Like,
sure,
they're not. They're going to run the ball. That's it.
You can say that. They also still dominate in the second half. And you're talking crap about Jeremiah Smith and all this stuff. He was awesome today. He was phenomenal. They have not missed. They're not going to miss Marvin Harrison. They're not.
Oh,
Jeremiah Smith is so good. Am I saying he's as good as Marvin Harrison? No. But guess what? He doesn't need to be as good because everything around them is so good. This is a national title team, Dylan, and I think you're coping right now. I think you're coping. I think you're grasping at straws right now because you saw Michigan stunk it up. They stunk tonight against Fresno State. They were struggling all game. They couldn't get past the Bulldogs. The only reason Michigan won that game is because Fresno couldn't stop stepping in mousetraps all game. They were shooting themselves in the foot all game. And you're just coping, Dylan, because who was your national title pick? Who was your Big Ten pick, Dylan? Let me hear it. Was it
Oregon? It was Oregon. They looked great. They
happened
pulled
today?
through.
What happened today? They won 24-14, barely won at home against FCS opponent the Idaho Vandals. They barely beat the Idaho Vandals as a 48-point favorite. And meanwhile, you're sitting here, oh man, Ohio State, they're not that good. They're not that good. They only beat Akron by 40. They came out with a slow first half. That means they suck. What are we smoking here, Dylan? What are we smoking here? You're coping. Ohio State is phenomenal. It's them and Georgia. Maybe Texas. Oregon looks shaky today, and you're scared. Michigan looked terrible today, and you're scared. Dylan, you're scared.
No,
man.
I'm not. What am I scared about? I'm
scared because
I'm not scared about Ohio State.
Ohio State's going to be in the national title game, and I think they're going to win it.
Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
Can I ask you a question while we're here? I'm going to give you a blind resume quarterback ranking. You let me know who you want on your team. What performance do you want, okay?
Okay. Time out. Before you do that, stats would only tell the number, so. Or that stats lie, so.
Stats lie? Okay, all right. Whatever. Quarterback 1. I'll give you quarterback 1. 17 for 28. Okay. 228 passing yards.
Okay.
3 touchdowns.
Okay.
Let me look up rushing yards real quick. Okay. I'm going to restart that. 17 for 28, 228 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 4 carries for 18 yards. Okay?
Okay.
Second quarterback. 27 for 39, 354 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 5 carries for -1 yard.
Okay.
What do you want?
I want quarterback 1.
No, you don't want quarterback 1. You know who quarterback 1 is. You don't want quarterback 1.
What was the point of that exercise, Dylan?
Oh. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat function. We can get YouTube chats literally on the side here. Okay. The point of that is there was a gentleman plays quarterback in the ACC now, used to play in the Big Ten, played Ohio, not a bad MAC team, a better MAC team than Akron, and put up great numbers. That was quarterback number 2. That was Kyle McCord. Quarterback number 1 was Will Howard, and that's why you said quarterback 1, because you knew that was Will Howard, and I had said something in our group chat. Kyle McCord proved me right. He proved me 100% right. Everything I was saying in the Big Ten preview. Kyle McCord was not a bad quarterback. He's going to look better now at Syracuse. The guy was just playing Big Ten defenses. And we think we can go take Will Howard, put him in Ohio State. I understand they haven't played Big Ten defenses yet, but even against the MAC defense, Kyle McCord still went out and looked better than Will Howard did. In the air, Will Howard had some great runs, and obviously I can comprehend the fact that the value of Will Howard rushing brings value other places of the game. But, I mean, that was astonishing. The fact that Kyle McCord put up better numbers than Will Howard, the guy they went out and got in the transfer portal.
Okay.
And you want quarterback number 1, the one with the less passing yards, less passing touchdowns, and 19 more rush yards.
Kyle McCord literally had the exact same stats against Youngstown State last year. Like, why should I care?
For the sake of conversation, for proving me right. I'm right.
Check the comments, Dylan. Check the live chat.
Oh, brother. Chris, Kyle McCord is butt. His butt. Ohio State, we'll wrap up with Ohio State, Michigan talk. Ohio State, they didn't look great to start. They got it together. Kind of what we expect.
Let's move on. They stink.
Michigan, I'll touch on this real quick because I understand we only played Fresno State. Serious defense is great. Never had any questions about the defense. Serious problems with the offense. We're running this 2-quarterback system, and no one, Sharon Moore never came out and said we were running it. They just kind of ran it and let it be. Huge problems there. Warren can't throw the ball. Orji can't throw the ball. Orji ran very well, I will say. A couple options. He had a passing touchdown. And the fact that we have not solved the quarterback problem, and it's not like we get to play East Carolina next week. We get to host Texas, who blew out Colorado State, and Archie Manning came in. So, huge issues for Michigan. Totally worried. I can't make any definitive statements about them yet.
How nervous are you against Texas next week?
Oh, nervous. Can I get stats guy on something?
What's the spread right now? I know it was 3.5 on the early spread.
That's what I was going to ask. I don't know what it is. There's no way that it's
got to be 7.5 now.
It has to be. It has to be after this week because there's no way it got smaller. Let me look. Michigan, the defense was swarming. The defensive line was still good. Will Johnson looked good. The offense, it was just Schoonmaker, and that was it. Even Edwards really couldn't get going. Mullings had a decent rush attack, but it was not looking great for Michigan overall.
Also, if you're in the chat right now, I have Arizona, New Mexico over 58.5 or 59. 59. I got a bad number.
Same. I have
New
Wyoming.
New Mexico pick. This is a game.
I have New Mexico win total over.
I love that. But anyhow, crap, 4.5.
It's 4.5.
4.5. Texas is only minus 4.5 in the Big House next week. That's going to be – we're getting a John Ewing tweet so fast where it says 92% of all bets are on Texas minus 4.5. We're getting a weird game next week, Dylan. We're getting a weird game.
And I didn't get to watch the Texas game, so I can only go off what I saw.
You didn't need to watch it. They looked fantastic. They're firing on all cylinders. Colorado State might just be a really bad team, too. I think it's a mix of that, but they look great. They didn't skip a beat.
Brother, it's going to be bad next week. And that's like what's sad is maybe you can relate to this as a fan. Watching today's game, like going into it, I knew we weren't going to be as good as last year. And then we had that interception. We scored the touchdown, 30 yards or whatever. And I was like, we're back. Like, we're going to win another national championship. And then it got sadder and sadder as the time went on. Would you almost rather, like, my expectation now is 9-3. That's my expectation. If we going into next week, I'm not expecting to win. I'm going to watch and be like, oh, let's go. Would you rather be the underdog in these situations and kind of prove people wrong? Or is it just be the favorite all the way and win out?
I see what you're saying here because, I mean, obviously, as lame as it is to say, I am a Duke basketball fan, so I understand what this means, being the favorite all the time and everyone wanting you to lose consistently. So, I don't know. I mean, like, I see what you're saying there. You obviously want to be the favorite. Like, think about last year, how awesome last year was. I know it was a little more stressful last year where you're like, oh, we might, we're the favorite in every single game. We, if we lose, it's going to be super embarrassing and whatnot. And if we lose this year, it's not as embarrassing because we're not expected to. I think that's kind of loser talk.
Yeah, and I think you're right, but it's almost like I don't care. Like, who cares if it's a loser?
But you won a national title. That's why you don't care. Like,
yeah,
you would have done unspeakable things for that national title. Maybe you did do unspeakable things that we don't like that.
But it wasn't as the first year we beat. I don't want to get into Michigan hour.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on.
All right.
How about that?
I like being the underdog.
Can
That's
we
what I'll
talk about
say.
some big games today? Let's talk about Notre Dame A&M, the game that just happened. How about that?
Defensive masterclass. It was beautiful. Now I will say I missed most of the third quarter, but awesome.
I will with that game. Usually, I don't like Big Ten football. I don't like defensive, low scoring games. I actually had a lot of fun watching that game. I thought it was actually really entertaining. I thought the quarterback play was. Now, Wegman and Leonard did not impress me, but I think it was gutsy quarterback play because I was telling this to the people I was watching the game with. Every single time Riley Leonard drop backs, literally every single play. I don't think he ran out of bounds or slid one time or threw the ball away. I think he just got rocked every single time. That dude got tackled every single time. Whether he threw the ball and got hit after, whether he ran, he would get hit. Every single play, he ended up on the ground somehow. He is going to get hurt at some point this season if that continues. But kudos to Notre Dame. They went in. Kyle Field was rocking tonight. They went in. They got to win. They have a great schedule. They've set themselves up beautifully for the playoff. And shout out Mark in Philly. I know he's going off on Twitter right now as a Notre Dame fan. He's maybe had a few too many tonight. Who cares? He's right. Connor Wegman, a lot of question marks around there. People were talking. It's crazy. Somehow people still talk themselves into Texas A&M every year. I even tried to do it a little bit, and I stopped myself. I said, no. I like Mike Elko. But look at the quarterback play. Connor Wegman doesn't really do that for you. Notre Dame's defense is great, sure. But That's going to be A&M's problem. Sure, A&M might go 8-4, 9-3, and still have a great year. Their season's not over by any means, but this is more of a big positive for Notre Dame in my eyes.
I was very impressed with both teams' pass defenses. Both teams rushed for more yards than they passed for.
Notre Dame's secondary, man. Holy smokes. It was seatbelts all around.
Yeah.
Touchdown, New Mexico.
Let's go. Well, they up 7?
Yeah, it's about to be 24-17.
Let's go. Watching the game, it was very much my brand of football. I enjoy watching it. Mark and Philly, I understand what you're going through. Again, I don't need to remind you, I won a national championship. Ohio State beat you guys last year, and I think we beat you in the last meeting. Not that there's any point to that, but I have won a national championship within the last year, and maybe I haven't been that clear, but I am a national champion, so I know what you're feeling. I'm very happy for you. Did I mention the... Anyway,
Shut up, move on.
defense here. I loved it. It looked great. Riley Leonard throws for 158 yards. Wegman throws for 100 with 2 interceptions. I wasn't fully bought into Texas A&M. I was kind of in on him, like, the Wegman had some.
You kind of wanted to talk yourself into it.
I really did, and I wanted to talk myself into Wegman specifically. He had some things that were like impressive. Go ahead.
I just don't know why we do this with Texas A&M every year. We just want to talk ourselves into it. Like, they did something to our brains. Maybe it's the cult that revolves around A&M, and they're doing something to our brains as college football fans. Where once it gets close to August, you're like, is A&M sneaky not being valued enough? And then come game 1, game 2, they're like, oh yeah, they lose to App State. They lose to Notre Dame.
So leaving this, a lot of these games, week 1, you're like, what does this say about the teams, both good and bad? Do you come away from this game thinking less of Texas A&M, more of Notre Dame, or is it a little bit of both?
I think it's about what I thought about Texas A&M, to be honest. I think this is what I actually expected out of them. I think they're going to be low-scoring games all season. Wegman is a big problem for sure. Notre Dame, I think I came away from this more impressed with Notre Dame, to be honest. To go in to Kyle Field and get a win, even though it wasn't pretty whatsoever. It wasn't pretty at all. It was gross. It was gritty. But they got it done, man. They made the big plays. Riley Leonard the way he was avoiding sacks was unbelievable tonight. The way he was able to move around the pocket was phenomenal tonight. So kudos to him. I think this is a positive for Notre Dame. I think this is huge because Texas A&M, they have the gauntlet of the SEC to go through. They got to play Texas. They got to play all these teams in the SEC. So you're a little like, man, Texas A&M kind of needed this game if they wanted to be talked about in this playoff conversation. Notre Dame really needed this game because this is their hardest game on their schedule, most likely. So they're in a great spot. I think it's a positive for Notre Dame. More of a positive.
I come away from this game, both defenses impressed me. Both. I didn't expect A&M's to be as good as it was crazy. And then, I made the comment today that I thought Wegman was going to throw a lot on this team. Would he have success? I don't know. I thought they were going to play fast. They didn't really do any of that. So I have to give Notre Dame credit. Their secondary impressed me, and their defense in general was very impressive. Big game of the day. Big one we haven't even talked about yet. Clemson, Georgia. We had differing thoughts on this. I thought Clemson was going to keep this game closer than they did. I was spot on about the defense, even though Georgia scored 30-some. Clemson's D-line was getting pressure on Beck, probably had more pressures on Beck than Georgia had on Klubnik, but Klubnik is just so bad. Is it Christian that's in the chat?
Yeah.
Christian, we're talking about the quarterbacks that are bad. I need to know where Klubnik is on the butt list because
the cheek rankings.
People wanted to give him credit for, and specifically the one I think of is Brandon Walker, the one that I watched, and he was like, we have completely disregarded this narrative that quarterbacks can get better year in and year out. They can develop. And that was where he was cutting Klubnik the slack. We saw none of that today. We saw none of that. He looked awful. The run game looked awful. The defense was fine. Both teams were tackling great. Karter, thoughts on Clemson, Georgia?
Let me ask you a question to start.
Okay.
After having about 12 hours to process that dog poop that Clemson put out on TV today, how much of it was just Georgia's defense was phenomenal? And
I don't think as much of it.
Okay.
I don't. I think their offense is that bad. They don't have a T. Higgins anymore.
I just think their weapons are lacking. Where's the speed on that offense? Phil Maffa, great power back, like Connor mentioned in all our previews where he calls him overrated consistently. Phil Maffa, great power back. They need that explosive back out of the backfield to really get things going. So the other thing I think the number one takeaway for me from this game was, yeah, Clemson was bad, whatever, ACC stinks. You can say all that. Number one takeaway for me was, okay, Georgia loses Brock Bowers, Lad McConkey, Dwan Edwards, all these guys. Didn't matter. Carson Beck was in control, man. That dude was cool as a cucumber. He was locked in. He was playing out of his mind tonight, or this morning, this afternoon. I'm losing track. He was so good today. He was so good today. When he needed to make the big plays, he made the plays. When he needed to run out of the pocket and get the first down, he was mobile enough to do so. He was hitting guys left and right. The only complaint I have about Carson Beck is I wish he would throw the deep ball a little more. If you throw the deep ball a little more, I just want to see it, but there's no need to. Play conservative. If they're giving you short passes, take them. He was just so in control that whole game, controlled the tempo, and I think that's my number one takeaway is he proved himself once again as one of the top quarterbacks in the country. And Georgia's going nowhere.
It will take a team to rattle Carson Beck for them to lose, a defense to do that. And Clemson's defense is great, and they still were not able to rattle him. So I don't know where this defense is going to come from.
One more thing to add to Clemson, too. Their defense was phenomenal, like you mentioned. They were lights out. And the issue with Clemson's defense was if your offense is giving you nothing, just as the human side of the team is, holy crap, we got to go save this offense again. Oh my gosh, they can't, it's like these great, and it's literally Iowa. Think about Iowa. Eventually, when you play great teams, their defense is elite. It's one of the best in the country. But when your offense is so bad consistently and the defense is on the field for a long time, eventually they're just going to get worn down and eventually just be like, man, almost what is the motivation to keep going? If it doesn't matter. Even if we get a stop here, our offense isn't going to do anything. Our only chance to score is a pick six or a turnover. So Clemson's defense looked great. That's going to be a force to deal with in the ACC for sure, but Georgia looked great.
Leading off of that, my main takeaways from this, oddly enough, I come away from this almost being higher on Clemson than I was coming into it. I knew the offense was bad. That was not surprising to me. The defense and the tackling really impressed me. They were getting guys in the open field, and these are elite skill position guys at Georgia. They go out and these are top tier guys, and Clemson was making the tackles. That was really impressive. And then Georgia, I think I just stayed kind of neutral on. I liked what I saw. Carson Beck was composed, but it was nothing that I wasn't already expecting from the Georgia Bulldogs. So,
yeah.
That being said about that game, we have a serious question that we need to tackle. Is the ACC the worst conference in college football?
It might be, dude.
And then the haters, if they want to say, oh, Miami, we could talk about Miami. Miami looked great against Florida. I was dead wrong. I thought Florida was going to keep that game so much closer. Cam Ward looked like a star, the swaggiest looking quarterback when he's out of the pocket. He looked like Muhammad Ali just kind of floating on air when he was out of the pocket, taking little prancing steps. Now, a lot of talent. Makes some bad decisions. He made some bad decisions today. Threw that interception, made some throws. All the talent in the world. I leave that game feeling so much more confident about Miami being my pick to win the ACC. They looked great. I loved them.
Yeah, no, if we're doing the Miami-Florida thing right now, you're out of your mind. You are out of your mind if you thought the U wasn't back. Just because,
they're back, yeah.
The U, everyone says that every year. No, man, if you watch Cam Ward at Washington State, if you watch Damian Martinez, Restrepo even last season, this is a different ball club, man. This is a totally different team, and we saw that today. This Miami team is no joke. Now, I don't think Florida's that great. I think you were wrong on them in our previews where you're saying they're underrated. Maybe they're not even as bad as we saw today, but their schedule is not going to allow them to win more than 4 games this season. Their last 5 games are the toughest in college football history, probably. So there's that. But with Miami, that offense might be the most electric offense in this country with the Ole Misses of the world. It's so fun to watch. Cam Ward is electric. I think maybe I didn't get to watch much of the Tennessee game. I only saw the highlights. we're honest here. I didn't get to watch the full Tennessee game, but I'll tell you what. From watching what I watched today, the 3 most exciting quarterbacks I saw on my TV were Jackson Dart, Nico Heisman, and Cam Ward. Those were the ones that jumped off the screen for me today. But Miami, we got called every name in the book, Dylan, in the comments when we said,
"Oh my
could
gosh,
Miami go undefeated?" And we said, "No, that's not crazy. That's not crazy. Miami could go undefeated." 11-1 feels very real. 11-1 feels very real.
I know he's not here right now. We're not going to let Ben off the hook, right? We're not going to let Ben off the hook for all of his comments about.
No, it was his bachelor party last night and today, and he literally 2 minutes into the first, after the second drive of the Florida game, he goes, "I was wrong."
Okay, all right. I didn't know that. All right. Hand up.
I think
Good
you
for
should
you,
stand
Ben.
by your take more.
Well, I mean, he was proven pretty wrong pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And
I don't know if
Clemson had
there's
already
much
gotten
stand up on that.
destroyed.
But hey, that's part of the game, part of the takes business. You're right, you're wrong. You live with it. You go with the punches.
Hey, real
Cam
quick,
Ward
by the
today-
way, Arizona tied it up 24-24.
What was the total at?
59.
It's not even halftime.
I know.
That's pretty nice. That's
Yeah.
pretty nice. Cam Ward today, 26 completions, 26 for 35, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, which was a really bad decision. 3 rushes for 33 yards, longest being 24. Great stuff. We talked about Heisman on the show. Great start for that. And he's going to have more opportunities to prove that. Let me go through my list here.
Hold up. Let me get this comment up on here.
Ooh, Graham Mertz might be the woe of all starting quarterbacks today. Did you watch Michigan? Michigan looked pretty bad. I'll be honest, man. Jake Warren looked really bad today. He could not.
Davis.
He threw that interception
Davis.
down the field.
What's his name? I don't even know his first name.
Jake Warren?
Is it Jake? I thought it was Davis for some reason.
Maybe it is. I don't know. Davis,
cares?
David Warren, Dave Warren. I don't know.
Warren.
Well, I'll get stats guy on it, but
Buffett.
yeah. Let's see my notes here. From yesterday, I said Tyler Van Dyke still bad, even at Wisconsin. Western Michigan had that game on lock. I had the money line, no questions
Real quick
there.
to the Tyler Van Dyke thing. On CBS today during the halftime show, I don't know what his name is. He was on the halftime show today. During halftime, they're talking about the Miami game. They're like, Cam Ward, it's looking pretty good in this first half or whatever. And they're like, they always say the U is back. They said Tyler Van Dyke was the guy. Tyler Van Dyke, he looked great last year, and look what happened. When did Tyler Van Dyke look good last season?
Never. They're coping. They're like,
Yeah, like you are with Ohio State.
no cope.
You set yourself up.
Yeah, I really did. West Virginia, Penn State, you want to touch on that? Drew Aller, I thought missed some passes, but he also made some passes, so it all kind of evened out at the end.
He is. I'm looking at the stock. The stock price went way up today for Drew Aller. He was good. He was good today. He was good. He made some ridiculous throws I didn't think he had at him. Penn State fans have been saying this all along that Drew Aller is this guy. He can make those throws. I never really saw it today. He really showed it. Also, West Virginia is just a silly Big 12 team. Just a silly, stupid Big 12 team. And that rain delay, I thought the delays were going to last all day. I thought they weren't going to get the game done until midnight.
Sam, I was seeing like 10 p.m. People were sending videos of the radar and said like 10 p.m. restart time. Luckily, they got it in.
Game.
I felt vindicated because I was not that high on West Virginia. And then all of a sudden with this game coming up, everybody was like, West Virginia plus 8.5, plus 7.5. Garrett Green's going to be the guy. And he didn't really impress. Drew Aller, 11 for 17, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't want to poop on your party. That doesn't pop out to me as like an amazing game.
Just because, Dylan, but you got to watch the games.
I get that, but he missed some pretty easy throws too.
Sure.
Early on.
But did you see some of the throws he made? Those were some ridiculous throws he was making all game. He was great today. He was really good. Now, sure, he missed some throws. I don't care. He was phenomenal today. And Nick Singleton might be the fastest player in this country at running back. Oh my gosh, he got the ball, just zoom. I mean, holy crap, he was fast. So Penn State, I have my eye on them. That defense looked great. They are going nowhere. They are going to be that 8 to 10 seed that they always are, but this year it works out for them with the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, it's running backs and defense. The defense was swarming. They looked great. There was no question there. I think we all kind of agreed that the Penn State defense was going to be top tier again.
Remember how you said the Big Ten? You're like, oh, the ACC is the worst conference.
Yes.
The Big Ten was not good today.
Okay, enlighten me.
Outside of Penn State, and I guess like playing crap teams, UCLA was a 14-point favorite and struggled against Hawaii. Michigan struggled against Fresno State. Oregon, who's supposed to be the number 3 team in this country, struggled against Idaho. Ohio State had a rough first half. I'm kind of grasping at straws for Ohio State. But
we could go ACC. Florida State loses to Georgia Tech. That feels like a lifetime ago.
Or
SMU
Georgia
barely
Tech
pulls
good.
it out. Oh, huh?
Georgia Tech might just be good. 2-0. Buzz.
That's fair, I guess. I guess they are. I guess they are in the ACC, so that kind of negates that. SMU struggles against Nevada. NC State, the score doesn't indicate this, but that was a closer game than what the 17-point margin implies. North Carolina is a field goal away from losing to Minnesota, Big Ten team. Duke played Elon, who cares? Stanford loses, but
that was a close game, and Stanford was supposed to stink this year.
Yeah, I guess they did.
I think it's
covered.
pretty equal to
Clemson loses.
Yeah,
Virginia Tech loses to Vanderbilt. People were giving Jones the Heisman.
Virginia Tech is the one. Virginia Tech is the one because shout out Ben for the hater pick on the parlay. There was nothing behind that pick, by the way. there was.
Pavia looked good too. That's kind of what scared me. He looked good.
Yeah, and Virginia Tech's wide receivers were missing throws left and right for drones. So Vanderbilt did get kind of lucky at some points, but that was bad. You can't lose that game. And they got bailed out with the missed field goal at the end, and they still lost that game.
Yeah. Let's see. Big Ten. We don't need to go through this. Washington's Weber State right now. Okay.
We're done there.
Biggest winner from today. This is. I like North Carolina State plus 5.5 against Tennessee. Nico Heisman literally just lit up Chattanooga, and you're going to take Grayson McCall against Nico Heisman? Christian, come on, my man.
I can't wait for the preview this week. We'll touch that game.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Nico looked amazing. We didn't touch on that a whole lot because he got pulled in the second half, but Nico was making throws in the open field. He was making contested throws. He was rushed. I mean, Tennessee, and I understand I'm a bit of a homer because my mom's a fan. They're my number 2 team. Tennessee looked amazing. The offense was firing on all cylinders. The defense was swarming for a Tennessee team that usually has a pretty poor defense. Oh, they looked great. Christian, you're wrong there. He also said he's going to take Samford money line next week. That's how little confidence he has in Graham Mertz.
Should we ride? Should we tail?
I'm not tailing. There's no shot I'm tailing. Were you going to say something? Because if not, I have a segment.
Go for it.
Biggest winner from today.
Ooh. Biggest
team player.
Cam Ward.
Cam Ward, really?
Cam Ward's the pick. I think it's Cam Ward in Miami. You could say Notre Dame, but Notre Dame didn't look great in that game. Yes, they got the win, but they didn't look great. Miami dominated. That was a tough spot for Miami with all these transfers coming in, a lot of new guys. Most of these guys have never played in an environment like that. Week 1 in the swamp, hot 96-degree day in Florida, and they came in and took care of business. It was never in doubt in that game. Cam Ward was in control the whole game, dominated Florida. Restrepo was killing it in the secondary. Fletcher and Martinez were phenomenal in the backfield. That defense was murdering Graham Mertz. Oh, my gosh, he was getting destroyed. Miami and Cam Ward are the biggest winners today. I don't know what the Heisman odds are now. Cam Ward's got to be a top 3, top 4 guy for Heisman now. If you got it at 22-1, it's never getting back to that price all season. No. He's going to put up great stats, and he's also the media, including us, are going to fall in love with this Miami team, which I did in the preseason. I'm going to continue to. The hype is going to be unreal. I think Miami and Cam Ward are clearly the biggest winners today.
I think you're exactly right. I'm not going to agree with that just for the sake of bringing something else up, but you're exactly right. Miami looked great. Cam Ward looked great. I'm going to go Iowa, putting up 40 points. I don't care who they put it up against. That has to be more points than they put up all of last year. It has to be.
Win, though?
That is a win. Cade McNamara looked great. Well, who cares? I mean, they didn't do it they didn't put up that many points last year against the no-names they played. This is a resurgence for them. Cade McNamara might have proved that he is worth tampering for. He might have.
I really think the number 2 winner here is clearly Penn State and Drew Aller. Because
I was going to say Nico Heisman, if you want my honest answer. That was going to be the dude looked at just, huh?
Imagine if Cam Ward transferred to, whoops, I put up the wrong one. Imagine if Cam Ward transferred to Michigan. I think the craziest one is imagine if Cam Ward transferred to Ohio State. How did they not put up the money?
I told Ohio State fans, you want this guy. This is the guy you want. You're going to spend $20 million on a roster,
what are you doing? How do you not find the extra few $1 million for Cam Ward when you're already spending $20 to $30 million on this roster? How can you not find the extra couple mil for Cam Ward? How?
The only thing I could think of is that he doesn't fit into what Ohio State is going to try and do, and that's run the ball. They're going to play Michigan football. And having that run threat at quarterback, I think Will Howard's more of a run threat than Cam Ward is, and that's the only thing I could think of.
I don't even know about that.
Who knows? I mean, it's tough, right? I told them they want Cam Ward.
Either way, it looks like Cam Ward may have made the right decision because he's
looking good.
So good. He looked so good.
And he doesn't have receivers that drop passes right at the numbers. So
Jeremiah Smith is going to be so good this season. You are out of your mind.
Biggest bust I've ever seen. I'm going Nico. Awesome. That's going to be my final answer. I'm going Nico Heisman. Looked great. Trying to troll Dylan in retaliation for my NC State.
That's good.
He looked great. The whole team, the offense was humming. Heupel's got those boys going, and it was very interesting. Biggest loser. Hold on, Mark and Philly said something I don't know what in retaliation to.
But I have the biggest loser, but let me know when you're ready.
Is it because you need my response? Sorry, let me.
This is great. This is great podcasting right now.
I don't even think it was anything. Okay, yeah, he's arguing with somebody else that's not even on this. Okay,
but anyhow, my biggest loser today. Actually, can I change my biggest winner? It coincides with my biggest loser.
Sure.
The transfer portal.
That's the winner?
That's the winner. Because look what happened to Dabo today. Developing, not going into the portal, not patching holes in the portal can really burn you, and it looks really bad. And then you look at Miami, overhaul. It looked phenomenal. Totally different team. That's a good point. That's a good outside of the box answer. I think Dabo and Clemson are the biggest losers today. Look, losing to Georgia, there's no shame in that.
No.
The way they lost, though, was they got brutally destroyed. The first half, they were kind of having fun, and then the defense just ran out of gas, and the offense was like, we have no answers. This screen pass to a receiver with no speed is not working. I don't know why.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, Phil Maffa, screen pass. Even though you're not a speed guy, you can get us 3 yards anytime. But I think Dabo and Clemson are big losers today. It's just in the way they lost. But you could say Virginia Tech too. Yeah. Oh, Virginia Tech, that's a big one. I honestly didn't even really think of. Biggest loser for me. Oregon. That's not bad. Oregon. I mean, I didn't get to watch much of that game, but the fact that they let Idaho even keep it close, and they were the team that returned their offensive line. They returned the talent on offense. They went and got a better quarterback, and they still Dabo's triplets. That's facts. It's I don't think it's an indictment on them for the rest of the season. I will give them credits like, oh, maybe they walk through it, whatever, figuring stuff out. But it did not look good, and it's not going to help their case this coming week in the media. Everybody's going to be talking about it. So Dylan Gabriel did not impress whatsoever. Look, I've never been the biggest Dylan Gabriel fan. I think his stats don't really match the eye test when you watch him. Yes, he had that great game against Texas last year, but I really think there's holes in that game. Also, if this is how Oregon kind of is this season, let's say this is how they are, this is who they are. Let's just play that game. At what point do we just go, oh, Dan Lanning is not that great of a coach?
This would be the year. I think this is the year they have the talent to go do something. And if they don't do, when I say do something, I'm thinking win the conference. I won't make them win the national championship yet.
I think it's a playoff. If they miss the playoff, I think there's big questions about Dan Lanning. There is no excuse for Oregon to miss the playoff this season.
100%. I think that's a fair benchmark to hold for Oregon, and I think they'll do it. But if they don't, he will have some questions to answer because this is a very talented team. I would say, one of the most talented teams, I will say. And if he can't get it done, I think that's a legitimate issue. One more thing I wanted to point out: Florida receiver giving the Miami defensive back a thumbs down when he, what was it? I can't remember the context, but he did something bad and he gave him a thumbs down. That's the all-time driving insult. You're driving on the road, someone cuts you off. You don't flip them off anymore, not in 2024. Thumbs down. That's my big winner. Thumbs down or back. Just right in the face. Horns down. There we go. Carter, do you have anything else before we log off?
USC is going to win tomorrow against LSU. I love USC. I think there are so many holes on this LSU team this season. I don't know why. This is a thing we do all the time where we just automatically assume these teams are just going to, LSU loses 2 first-round receivers and they lose a Heisman quarterback. But they replaced them with these awesome transfer guys. Are we sure these guys are that great? That's a big hole to fill. And the LSU team wasn't even that great last season, and they downgrade at each of those positions when they were their best positions last year. I worry about that. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a classic Pac-12 game. This could be played in the high 30s, 40s. I think USC has the ball last, and I think they win tomorrow. I like USC. I don't think we had a lot of questions answered today. We had a couple the Virginia Tech hype train is done. It just crashed. It's over. We're not doing the Virginia Tech hype thing anymore. Georgia's still good. I think the Clemson one isn't dead. What if we all of a sudden we're sitting there thinking, why is Clemson 7-1 right now?
Yeah, 100%. Clemson is not dead. Like I said, they impressed me more than they disappointed me because I had no expectations for that offense, and their defense looked great. Tomorrow, kind of the opposite from you. I don't trust Bull Boy Miller Moss. I'll take Grant Nussmeier and the guy that Saban said was a great quarterback. Like, I will trust that in and out.
Saban said Florida State was winning the ACC.
He's due. You know how it goes. You get one wrong, you get one right. He's due.
Or maybe he's losing it.
And then that's hard to argue against either. Also, Monday, Boston College. It's got to be Boston College.
Spread.
Love it. No, outright.
At least.
Yep. I love it. Yeah. Carter, it was a pleasure. We might be doing this more. I don't know. I'm tired, man. It's late for me. But
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Next week we have to, Dylan. We've got NC State, Tennessee, Colorado, Nebraska. We have to record. We have to do the live stream next week.
Michigan, Texas.
What time is that? That's a noon game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because those are the night games. Those are right after.
Oh, I see. You're talking about the time of it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about the time of it. So it'll be like 11 o'clock for you. You'll be up late. You might just need to move to the West Coast.
I would not be against that. Give me on Pacific time though. I don't want mountain time. I want Pacific time.
But anyhow, Dylan, before we go, we have all of our NFL previews out. Every divisional preview is out. NFC, AFC, you name it. We talked about your team in the NFL. Whether good or bad, we talked about your team. We got all our conference previews. If you want to tune into that, great. We have week 2 college football preview coming out on Wednesday morning. That will be out. And NFL week 1 coming out.
We're so back.
Our preview's Thursday. Dylan, think about this. I was doing my schedule this week. You know, the missus, she's out of town Thursday and Friday, work trip.
Nice.
Oh, my gosh. Chiefs, Ravens. But Don't stop there.
But then, wait, Karter, what are you going to do on Friday, though? There's no football on Friday, right?
Oh, brother, you are surely mistaken.
Oh, no way.
Yep. I have 2 games. Two? Packers, Eagles, and my BYU Cougars are playing SMU.
There we go.
It's a great the projector. I have the football setup out. I had an horrible amount of pizza and wings today. I think 4 Mountain Dews when it was all said and done. You're
gonna die. Don't we all? Don't we all? I guess
we all die.
We
anyways,
all do.
Dylan. We all die anyways. We got the projector out. We got the TV. We got TV number 3, smaller TV, but you need the smaller TV 3 because you want the focus on 2. I think once you get to 4 2 spread out, it can get a little tricky. But Friday Night Football, man, I can't wait. And our Week 1 preview. I'm so excited for NFL season, Dylan. I know the Panthers, they don't look great on paper. I'm so excited to watch them. I just want to see football. I'm so glad we're not doing divisional previews or conference previews anymore, Dylan. We actually get to talk ball.
It's I love the previews. It means football season's coming, but now we can form actual opinions on these teams, not just based on some transfer and returning production ranking. It's huge. I'm actually having people over Sunday for, I have Matt, the Bears fan, the U-Haul ran into his house last year. He's coming over because the Bears play the Titans.
That might be rough for you, dude.
No, we're gonna crush him. We're gonna destroy him. Very excited for football. If you are watching on X, in the replies is a link to the YouTube. Follow, link to the YouTube below. Go subscribe. We need to get to 1,000. That's 74 more subscribers. We need to get there as soon as possible.
74?
We're at 926, I think, or 924 maybe.
Something like that.
And then if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below us.
Subscribe.
Do it. Thank you guys for watching.
Real quick, I'll do a giveaway. I'll announce a giveaway this week once we get to 1,000.
There we go. You heard it here, and you have to subscribe to know when the stuff comes out to hear the announcement.
Let us know you're subscribed. I'll put you in a wheel. We'll do a giveaway.
Follow us on all socials. Karter, thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move us to the back room. I'm going to play the outro a couple times, and then we'll go from there. Okay.
Drop the curtains.
Can I do the signature sign off?
Absolutely. Use code Kartercast.
Use code Kartercast. SeatGeek. Use code Karter.